Hello, my tribe, and everybody out there in YouTube land. Welcome back. We're going to be talking about EMPs today, or HEMP, for high altitude electromagnetic pulse. Why don't I just read it to you off of Washington State Department of Health? What is an EMP and how is it created? The most important mechanism for electromagnetic pulse production from a nuclear detonation is the ionization of air molecules by gamma rays generated from the explosion. These gamma rays ionize the air molecules by interacting with the air molecules to produce massive positive ions and recoil electrons called Compton electrons. This pulse of energy, which produces a powerful electromagnetic field, particularly within the vicinity of the weapon burst, is called an electromagnetic pulse. EMP can also be produced from non-nuclear devices such as electromagnetic bombs or E-bombs. This is the Earth. Couple hundred miles, 200 to 300 miles above, the bomb goes off. And it goes in all directions, but the only directions we're really concerned with is this here. And this here. Because everything within this zone and all the way around the backside gets zapped, taking out the electronics. High altitude nuclear detonations and electromagnetic bombs can generate EMP that has potential to damage or destroy electronic devices over widespread areas. Electric power systems would also be at risk from surges produced by such weapons. However, an EMP from a kiloton range surface nuclear detonation would not be expected to produce serious damage outside the radius of severe destruction from the blast. Look up and read about this. Starfish Prime. It's the U.S. government's detonation of a very large nuclear weapon in the Pacific at 800 miles away. Streetlights and radio mechanisms were all destroyed in Honolulu. Not all of them. Streetlights went out. Communications went down. Look it up. Starfish Prime. It's a real thing. This is a real thing. It's not hocus pocus. It's not maybe. World War III has already begun, and the Russians have already announced this last week or so that they have changed their nuclear doctrine from one of defense on a large scale to one where they can use small tactical nukes. Small tactical nukes tend to become large nukes. Interesting that I just spoke about this. A 1.4 megaton bomb launched about 250 miles above Kansas would destroy most of the electronics that were not protected in the entire continental United States. During the brief return to atmospheric testing in 1962, a 1.4 megaton nuclear weapon was detonated over Johnson Island at an altitude of about 250 miles. Remember, this was a device that was not tuned to create an EMP. Streetlights and fuses failed on Oahu, and telephone service was disrupted on the island of Kauai. These are real things. Modern EMP generating nuclear devices are tuned to create electromagnetic pulses, not destroy cities. What are the effects on electronics and cars? When detonated, an EMP weapon produces a pulse of energy that creates a powerful electromagnetic field capable of short-circuiting a wide range of electronic equipment, particularly computers, satellites, radios, radar receivers, and even civilian traffic lights. Since EMP is electromagnetic energy traveling at the speed of light, all of the vulnerable electronic equipment in the detonation zone could be affected simultaneously. No, will be affected simultaneously. This is an electronic device. This is an energy collection device, and it is connected to this transceiver and goes, all the energy collected by this radio antenna will go straight into this radio and burn it out. Why? Because the inside of this radio looks somewhat like this. And this is one of the 2 spare engine computers that I have for my 1995 Bronco. That's what it looks like inside. And what happens is the energy from an EMP comes into this device and jumps across places on this circuit board that have no connections. There and there. It jumps across here and there. It's not supposed to be connected. It's connected because of the high voltage, jumps across it, and it fries out whatever it touches. Why do I have 2 extra engine computers, you might say? Because I plan to get out of Dodge after an EMP hits. One is already in a Faraday cage. This one, I am going to replace these 2 capacitors because they tend to leak after about 15, 20 years, causing issues like transmission, shifting, yada, 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 yada. And then it will go inside. It would be wrapped up in cardboard, wrapped up in aluminum foil, about 20 layers, wrapped up in cardboard, and then it's going to go inside of a Faraday box that I'm improvising off of Amazon. Then that's going to be wrapped in cardboard, and then it's going to go inside of a metal cabinet. I plan to get out of Dodge, but it does take planning. So, society has entered the information age and is dependent on electronic systems that work with components that are very susceptible to excessive electric currents and voltages. Many of these electronic systems are controlled in some way by semiconductors. Semiconductor devices fail when they encounter an EMP because of the local heating that occurs. Failure of semiconductor chips could destroy industrial processes, railway networks, power and phone systems, and access to water supplies. Commercial computer equipment is particularly vulnerable to EMP effects. Computers used in data processing systems, communication systems, displays, industrial control applications, including road and rail signaling, and those embedded in military equipment such as signal processors, electronic flight controls, and digital engine control systems are all potentially vulnerable to the EMP effect. Other electronic devices and electrical equipment may also be destroyed by the EMP effect. Telecommunications equipment can be highly vulnerable, and receivers of all varieties are particularly sensitive to EMP. Therefore, radar and electronic warfare equipment, satellite, microwave, UHF, VHF, HF, and low-band communications equipment, and television equipment are all potentially vulnerable to the EMP effect. Cars with electronic ignition systems and electronic chips are also vulnerable. Get extra ones of these. I paid $65 for this one. I paid $97 for the other one. Find your car, get on eBay, buy it. Some other notable collectors of EMP include railroad tracks, large antennas, pipes, cables, wires in buildings, and metal fencing. Although materials underground are partially shielded by the ground, they are still collectors, and these collectors deliver the EMP energy to some larger facility. This produces surges that can destroy the connected device, such as power, generators, or long-distance telephone systems. If your generator is connected to your house via a copper cable, you're going to lose that generator. Even if it's not connected, if it has an electronic ignition system, you're going to probably lose that. Figure out what you need to do, because the results aren't pretty. We lose the power grid. That's what I keep trying to tell you people. Our power grid is extremely vulnerable, extremely, and it is the lifeblood of this nation. Power systems are pretty much the lifeblood of all nations, but here in the United States even more so. First world countries won't be first world countries. We will be 1820s, not even the 1850s or 1870s. We will be back in the 1820s. This is an old map, but this is a map of what the old, it is drawn for weapons that were designed for the old EMP proof standard, which is, off the top of my head, mil standard 120, sorry, it's 188-125-1. And I believe now there's a 1A and a 2. But I don't know what they are, what the standards are. It may just simply be subsets or updating of the standard mil spec, which doesn't really matter because that shit is last year's news, actually 1980s news, and that's when that standard was brought up. This is a map of the U.S., and these are the areas that could be affected by an EMP explosion. Setting off 3, one at Vegas, one at Dallas, one at Columbus. At ground zero, you will have 12,500 to 50,000 kilovolts, 50,000 volts of energy. And then as you go out, it drops and drops and drops and drops. But the whole country is affected. Actually, this is at 106 miles up. The standard, I believe, is 300 miles, which that is what encompasses at 300 miles. That's where you get the entire U.S. affected. And Mexico and Canada. And then we launch, and in retribution, and on it goes, and it's just ugly. There's a new standard that's out. I don't know what it is, because I've been told, my understanding is it is classified. Surprise, surprise. Here is a company here who says that they make EMP-proof containers, large containers, primarily for servers. And they offer a guarantee. Ha, ha, ha. If we get EMP'd, how are you going to contact them? So it doesn't really make any sense. But they're still quoting the mil standard 188-125-1A. And they provide 20 dB of attenuation. I don't know if that's enough for the new standard. The new standard, my understanding, is the new EMP weapons. Instead of ground zero being 50,000 volts, it is now 200 to 250,000. And I protected all my stuff based upon a dB reduction and then a little bit extra, about 25-30% extra over that standard, over the mil 188-125-1 standard. This goes to this. I need to up it 4 to 5 times the protection so I can get to this level. So all my stuff's coming back out of my Faraday boxes and cages and cabinets and everything else. And I'm going to wrap them in a whole lot more layers of aluminum foil and do more by putting stuff after they're in the boxes. I'm going to put them in cases, and then they're going to go inside the metal cabinets. That is what we're facing, folks. And while a CME is a roll of the dice every day from the sun, EMP. You can see it. You can look down the horizon and you can see it coming. Just look at Ukraine and Russia and what NATO's doing. If we get into it with Russia, they will EMP us. Same thing with China. North Korea, same thing. They have 2 satellites that traverse the United States a couple times a day. They say they are weather satellites, but they've never transmitted a single signal back to Earth. But twice they go right over the central part of the United States, and they're up around 220, 300 miles, something like that. Perfect altitude for an EMP. It's going to happen, folks. This is going to happen. This is going to happen also. It's just a matter of which one hits first. This is a mathematical certainty. This you can see where the leaders of the world are pushing us towards it. What does all that mean? You need to be self-sufficient. You need calories stored away. You don't want your drop into the apocalypse to be like this, off a cliff and straight down. You want to build a ramp, and calories do that for you so that you go down a whole lot easier than what the mass of the population is going to do. Because when you get down here, it's called SPLAT. You go splat and you die. Over here, you go bump. This is where you want to be. Nobody, except for the very elite in the world, get to stay up here. Think continuity of government. If you're not part of that plan, you better build your own plans. You need to have years and years worth of calories stored up. You need to have a decade's worth of seeds stored up. Calorie production. You need to be a net producer of calories. The modern farming system is going to go away. It will put this back into the 1800s, the early 1800s. We rely upon that. Everybody thinks, oh yeah, country folk got it. No, 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 they don't got it. The dairy farmer doesn't take his milk, pasteurize it, and put it on his dinner table. The vast majority of farmers do what you and I do. They go to the grocery store and buy the groceries because it's so much easier to just pick up a gallon of milk, put it in your cart, take it home, put it in your refrigerator, and put it on the table than it is to siphon off milk, bring it into the table, do this, do that. Same thing with their vegetables and this, that, and the other. No farmers have a 1 acre farm in their backyard. I'm not going to say none. Speaking generalities. Even the rural people are not prepared. Number one thing, be away from people. Because this is going to bring anarchy. This is going to bring anarchy. Both results in massive, massive die-offs. 90% of the people will die in the first year. Think of what that remaining 10% has had to do to make it that far. And if you're not prepared, what are the things you are going to do to survive it? And how will you live with yourself after that? Some very, very ugly things will have to be done for you and your family to get past that even first year after this or this. Start storing up food. Start storing up seeds. Learn how to grow a garden. I know the hour is late. It's very late. But you will never have more time than you do today. That ends my lesson on EMP. I hope it wakes you up. I'm going to do a third installment on what I'm doing. I'm going to show you what I'm doing to protect myself from EMPs. And we'll go over that. And it's very simple, easy for everyone to do. And I hope we all get through it and see you on the other side. God bless you all. You take care. And bye.